And keep in mind that Russia's going to look at this through their own security lens. They utilize non-state actors that are directly funded and informed by the GRU and by the Russian government. So even if you had some very advanced, hacktivists with Anonymous that were able to do that type of thing, they're going to assume right away that the U.S. military or Cyber Command was involved, even if they weren't.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I'm glad that Michael's kind of following this and reporting on it. I mean, I think it's definitely good to continue to report on, what they're doing and the impact that it's having. Moshi, go ahead.
Hey guys, I'm dropping off in a minute. Queen, did you say something about Israel not going to be complying with the sanctions? I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I did. As far as I know, as far as I know, I could be wrong. Israel has not placed any sanctions on Russia. Is that right?
So early last week that they said that they would be fully complying with all sanctions, and I even posted it from the foreign minister in the Nest, and they said that no, if you look at it, and they were very specific to the point of that Israel won't be used as means to bypass the sanctions on Russia, and that's especially for the oligarchs too. So I think that's in the works.
Good. Freaking A. That's it. That's my comment. Also, can you send me a
Believe
link
me,
to that?
I'm very
Just
critical of
remember to watch
Israel.
actions, not words. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you.
Well, I mean, that's my
But
point. I that's literally my whole entire point.
Yeah.
Maybe I got a little excited because it's exciting, but whatever. I haven't slept in forever. Can you send me some links? I want to see what they will actually do and if they will follow up. And if they do and actually follow up, I would be very happy. But please
Oh,
send
well,
me.
let me look more into it, and I'll send you some stuff to your DM.
And there's a difference between complying with U.S. sanctions and implementing their own. So I would just point that out.
Yeah, well,
Bennett.
that's a good point. I would love for them to implement their own. Let's see. Yes, good point.
Also, Bennett was traveling back and forth, so we'll see what, or to Moscow.
Michael, go ahead.
All right, thank you. Hopefully you guys are not tired of hearing my voice. But I wanted to clarify some stance in my initial reporting. In no way, I'm an ethical hacker by career, meaning I find holes in my company security and patch it, right? So I do understand how hacking and all that stuff works. And there are people that are neither good nor bad. They call them gray hat, right? I'm a white hat. And then there are straight up gangsters, black hat. All they do is cause harm to you. And then there's ransomware as a service, which means US could buy a service from Syria and feed them intel, and Syria will conduct the attack. It doesn't come back to the US, right? So what I'm saying to say is, I'm in no way incentivizing hacking or causing massive infrastructure destruction in the world. I just brought up that reporting because Anonymous usually don't take sides, but in this case, they're taking sides with Ukraine because of the sheer destruction that Russia is causing to the world. And stole data and then dumped it on the top. They don't do anything.
Appreciate you taking the time to clarify that. And I actually haven't had a chance to follow, that you're able to just, hopefully you didn't find offense at all. You know, just kind of reiterating that we want to make sure that this space is safe and that we're reporting on activities and not necessarily encouraging bad actors. So Graham, go ahead.
Yeah, Michael, thanks for bringing it up. You know, we talk about these things here, and you have expertise. You're an intelligent guy, and if you're right, you know, this is news because it's related to Ukraine, and I'm I'm cheering on your contribution. So thank you.
This is also a good time to remind everyone, update and highly recommend it. There's also some cool stuff. Like, I can't tell you how grateful I am to have a VPN, antivirus, all that.
Seems like it's cutting out in sections. Not sure why. I'm gonna go and investigate. I will do that.
Or because we know what Russia.
See how it just stops?
Offensive capability is, and it has not been utilized. Junior varsity stuff. And it was and I probably wouldn't, leave two-factor authentication off, because if digital, bullets start flying in this analogy, you'll just become a target of a phishing operation or something. And the borders for that are much more permeable, when you're talking about, especially if you, as a number of people, in this spaces, OSINT in general report that they are doing something or they have contacts with people, then you could very well become a target. Somebody go, is this guy talking out his ass, or does he actually know somebody in X, Y, or Z intelligence service? Let's get his personal details and find out. So, practice digital. Yeah, that's a great point.
Thank you so much, Oaksex, and then John.
I was just going to point out, yeah, I think in terms of the actions that Russia has taken, it's actually indicative of their understanding of the situation. They clearly have more capability than they are bringing to bear at this point. And when we talk about Putin and Russia not being rational, that's a very rational move. I don't think they want to escalate it by employing some of the things that they likely have in their arsenal. And then in terms of classified information, I think a lot of people should keep in mind, like, there is something called classification through compilation. So stringing, a bunch of different things together, even if they are, coming from OSINT or all source intel, you just have to be careful.
Thank you so much, John.
Okay, I would like to add something on what Michael already said. Okay, of course, you have to update your software and your operation systems as soon as possible. But I would also like to emphasize, if you don't have to use Discord, please don't use it, because there are a lot of reports regarding shorten URLs that are spreading through the discords that actually send you to these websites that are compromised and that are probably run by the different agencies all around the world. And that's something what I would like to say, and that's part of my daily job as well. And please do not click on everything you see. If you have to click, use something like virus.com, and you can check the URL, you can check the files, and it's pretty good. It works pretty good, and can save your money and time as well. Thank you.
I would also recommend using things like Signal, and then something that is perhaps more secure than that, which
indeed, Discord is pretty compromised.
I feel so uneducated after listening to you all. Okay, so we don't have any other speakers with their hands raised. So with that, I will invite any of our listeners, if they would like to come up and speak, just go ahead and make a request, raise your hand. And then I've been tweeting this space throughout the day with the hashtag Stand With Ukraine. And we're so appreciative that you care about what's happening in Ukraine. Thanks for being here.
And I'll use the empty airtime just to thank Grammar and Sparkles. I think you guys have done a great job, and it's
that's very much your noise that's come out of the incredible job that the Ukrainian special forces have done, taking out a lot of the military command. But whether that's actually real or not, I don't know. There's a lot of speculation on this Wagner group, and to the, I think it was who was the other chap that just was speaking, Mac. You know, I think a lot of the guys were taken out early on, and in terms of the capability, I don't think it's the capability is what it's made out to be. I wish my Portuguese friend was here to discuss it more, but I think that with the Wagner group is not necessarily what it's all made out to be. There hasn't been much success, and to that point, it looks like they're struggling to even recruit people.
Yes, armed Ukraine.
I haven't been looking for Wagner Group news specifically, but when we see headlines in the media about Russia recruiting people in Syria, from what I've read, that is largely going through the Wagner Group. It's them going there and recruiting mercenaries, not just like volunteers from Syria to help fight.
Oh, isn't that special?
And this is something that will play out later. There are obviously familial contacts between Ukrainians and Russians. In many cases, there's evidence that demonstrates people who have been caught have said that their families were threatened in Russia. Because Ukraine is so close to Russia, there are those interfamilial relationships between the countries.
And what is the level of censorship that Belarus people have compared to the people in Russia? Do they have any access to Western media?
Maciej.
Yeah, just quickly what I know, basically Belarus was in terms, if you compare apples to apples, so Russia to Belarus, it was a little bit freer than Russia, but it all changed during the last election, which basically was rigged by Lukashenko. Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, which many recognize as a rightful winner of that election, is emigrated from Belarus, and there are many, from my point of view, which is kind of skewed because there is a huge Polish diaspora still in Belarus living. So there is this organization called Związek Polaków na Białorusi, which is just association of Poles in Belarus. Many of them are treated as anti-Lukashenko dissidents and are jailed. There's still some people jailed and in really dire condition. And from stories that those who managed to flee Belarus, it's really the regime is quite stringent. There are, for example, examples because, as you know, the official Belarus flag is basically this green and red, and Belarusian opposition have this flag of Pogoń, which is white, red, and white. And for example, there were people who were imprisoned just for the fact that they have this package on their balcony that resembled somebody from the secret police, the colors of the Belarusian flag of Pogoń. So yeah, I think the censorship is quite stringent. And yeah, the question is what's really happening in Belarus right now, and we are often asking it here. Transports for the front. We heard that maybe Belarusian army isn't so willing to take part in this whole escapade, to use correct terms in this invasion, in this aggression. And there were some reports about even really organized efforts of Belarusian train workers, in terms of mass protests, I didn't see anything like that. Any photos from Minsk? I think basically the rule in post-communist countries, as it was in communist countries, there is a time where people are basically, as a society, gaining their strength, and then their will is broken. And basically, I think we are in the period where the will of the Belarusian society.
Thank you for answering the questions. I'll drop down.
But when this election happened and it was very clear
These pauses are just way too long. You can see how it's just stuck there. I have an idea that it's the Twitter. A lot of people have been complaining about this little Twitter application, that it's very, very buggy. This is kind of super buggy. See how it goes to listener? The speaker just went to listener, back to speaker, and that'll probably come back on.
Radio check.
Yeah, now they're doing a radio check.
There are a couple of explosions being announced in Kyiv. I'm gonna check it out. What's going on?
Explosions in Kyiv right now. You heard it here first. ladies and gentlemen.
Ate, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
No, I was just waving to Verlaine because she said, I think she said radio check, so I was.
Responding to that. All right. Either people ask questions or I'm going to start singing the Itsy Bitsy Spider again. Please don't do that.
Well, ask
10 hours
questions.
straight. Can you blame me?
Just ask questions, everybody.
Can I make a comment on something somebody asked earlier?
Finally.
Sorry, I was making lunch. As far as the political corruption thing that somebody was trying to ask if there was a fair comparison between Zelensky and, like, I think he may have used the word dictator. The problems in Ukraine are the kind of problems that you'd expect from a sort of a newer a country that's newer to the whole free world democracy thing. There's a lot of corruption in the East. There's a lot of corruption in Ukraine. This is like normal corruption-ish. The former president, he was accused. The Zelensky does not have the power to order him arrested, but there were prosecutors that sought him, what's his name, Poroshenko's arrest, but the court said that they weren't going to arrest him, but he is still under investigation for basically funneling money to buy coal from Donetsk and some other areas. So, I mean, this is the legal system at work. It's not an autocrat. And there are other problems I've read about over the last year or two that I've sort of been loosely paying attention for a weird reason. And they're all basically boiled down to the same sort of problems you see with sort of like younger democracies or democracies struggling with corruption, democracies struggling with just the kind of problems that they would have. This is not an autocracy.
Okay, we have a couple questions from the audience here. Is there any word from Dr. Storm, or is there any word from the ground? From Kiev recently, I'm seeing several reports of anti-aircraft fire and multiple explosions in the last 20 to 30 minutes, more than usual. That's coming from Dr. Storm. Verlaine, do you have any info from your friends on the ground in Kiev? Is there a lot of anti-aircraft activity going on in Kiev?
Yes, they texted me that they went to the bunker earlier than usual, and but there's some kind of air defense.
Well, Bill, all of Ukraine is apparently Nazi. Ask a Ukrainian. Ukraine. So what's happening with this damn feed? It's kind of stuck. Oh, struggling to come back. I'm not going to type in the chat because it's just going to slow everything down, which is slow enough. So until I get my new rig, PayPal me / Sidney Winston, I'm just going to try and minimize on the use of the resources on my computer whilst I am live streaming, because it certainly looks like it does cause slowdowns. In this particular case, I'm not so sure that it's the computer, because I see nothing coming in
Radio check. Can you hear my mic?
There we go. See, they no one
Five,
hears
five,
anything.
five.
Okay.
Okay, so I didn't know if Verlaine was able to answer that question or not. And we will go to the next question if we have. Stuart sends in that XMI6 chief says only China can influence Putin. China has recently declared that they will not be helping Russia out militarily. I'm not sure if anyone's heard that, but we will see if we have someone who wants to talk about that. Mr. Zaviews, ZA Views. Is that Zuid-Afrika Views? Is that South African news and Afrikaans? Go ahead.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for giving me opportunity to share my views. So I just want to share my views only. I don't
Sorry.
want
So you have a comment or a question?
not questions, only my views. So I
Okay.
just want to
Well,
share. Might be possible it become a
yeah,
question.
absolutely. If you could share your comment within 30 seconds, a minute, that'd be great. Go ahead.
Doc. Looks like he's stuck talking. Zaviews.
Okay, so I want to share.
Looks like he dropped out. So all the speakers dropped out.
Oh, really?
Because if you
See how buggy
People
this.
speak even if.
So yeah, there's no speakers, just a host, and everybody's a listener. And
Right. It's the duty of any moral actor to intercede as much as you can in that circumstance. It's no different than you walking down the street and seeing some guy getting beaten. I like to think that everybody in this room would do what they could to intercede there. That's what's going on here, and it's nothing more or less than that.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, the U.S. wasn't doing enough for like the Ukraine was asking for more from NATO, not less. If he was a puppet, he would say, "Hey." Anyone who can't see that is just unfortunately certain parts of the world, and there's a lot of intelligence out there has been targeted by Russian misinformation, specifically India and specifically parts of Africa, and certain parts of Africa, especially not all, but it's obvious, it's sad, and I wish him well, and hopefully he can learn on his own time and. Want to cut him off too quickly, but again, verifiable information. We have a new guest. His name is Kush. Not sure if that's a reference to an ancient kingdom or a plant. Bayernish Munisha fan here. How can we help you? Do you have a question or a comment? It looks like he got disconnected. I'm bringing him back up here.
There's a bit of a delay.
And like to hear different points of view. We don't know if you're from the South Sudan or if
but you just some people get offended, some people say it's a 50-50.
All right, go for it.
So we can all accept that what is happening in Ukraine is a terrible, and what is happening to the Ukrainian people is terrible, and I understand that. My question is, we are here, we in the West and in Europe especially, we're calling this that we are, and that the Russians are murdering and killing Ukrainian citizens, which they are. Okay, they are, right? Now, my question is, how is that so different from when NATO conducted an illegal war in Afghanistan and Iraq? Like, how is that different?
Okay.
Because,
So hey, have you heard the expression two things can be true at the same time?
of course, but
Okay, there's your answer.
I get that.
Then they should let bad things happen all the other time because they did something bad
No,
once. Is
no,
that the logic?
I am just saying, how come we never held our own governments accountable for the actions we did?
Have you been in this space for a while?
No.
I haven't seen you. Okay. So almost every single person, whether they're from Texas or Toledo in the States who's on here, often says after that silly, useless, or not a good war in Iraq, or name the place, or here or there, we shouldn't be doing this, but this is awful what Russia's doing. We're not.
That's right.
Yeah, bad, but that doesn't absolve Mr. Putin for just randomly invading Ukraine initially, ostensibly because he wasn't happy with NATO.
Okay.
But hold on. And then what happened was, after he went from saying, I don't want NATO on my doorstep, he said, I'm out to destroy the neo-Nazi government led by a Jewish guy. I mean, if that doesn't make you wonder if it's a bit of a laugh or a joke, I don't know what does, right? So at least be honest. He could say, hey, and he said it in a new, you know what he did actually? He was honest. He said it in a paper, an editorial last year. He said, Ukraine's not a country. It doesn't deserve to be a country. It's a part of Russia. So we should have taken him seriously when he said it, I guess. Anyway,
100%.
if you want to follow up, yeah, what else?
100%. I agree with that, and we should have done something about it. I just look at, I'm European, and I just look at the hypocrisy that's playing out. That's the only thing I'm looking at, because at the same time, we have NATO forces blowing up Yemen and other places in Africa.
Oh no,
So
no, no,
it's
no,
like,
I'm
no,
not sure if we have
no,
NATO
no,
forces,
no,
but we have.
no, no.
Yes, we
There
do.
are no NATO forces in Yemen. There are no NATO forces in Yemen. Yemen is a completely different story. I've worked on Yemen for 7 years. There are no NATO forces in Yemen. You can go on and on and on and on about the Saudis buying Western bombs.
Somalia.
Somalia? You want to go back 30 years? Okay.
Louise. Yeah, no, Kush, we given it. To make Russia's actions right today. So it's time to grow up. Stop this whataboutery.
Yeah, these delays are getting a little bit too long to make this a viable stream. So I'm going to start winding this down. If by the time I finish talking, of course, these guys come back, then I'll let it run for a bit. But essentially, thank you for watching. Please like, please share. Maybe not this one, but other ones. And hey, subscribe. I'm trying to get 1,000 subscribers. Not that easy in this market.
Illegal. Yeah, but it wasn't illegal.
Oh, that was a struggle, wasn't it? All right. I think I'm just going to say goodbye.